Chapter 1. Marry a disfigured and crippled wolf demon. 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chocho. Juan Chocho. Juan Chocho. What's the matter with you? The chief is talking to you. There was a somewhat fuzzy sound of a charming voice by her ear. Towards the end, the voice was soft and mild. This woman kept calling Juan Chocho's name. Someone gently pushed her shoulder. Juan Chocho felt as if her body, including her chest, was burning. It was a burning pain as her numb limbs regained sensation. It felt as if her body had been stored in an icehouse. Juan Chocho instinctively questioned, who was talking to her? Immediately, she fully woke up. Why would there be anyone else in the rented basement room that was located at the center part of the base? Startled, Juan Chocho endured the dull pain in her head and forcefully opened her eyes. She saw a lovely and beautiful face. There was a beautiful woman standing in front of her. She had long brows curved like a willow leaf, slender eyes with a sleepy look, cherry lips, and a full head of black hair that was tied up simply. She was wearing a pure white fox fur coat. The beauty mark she had made her look even more refined and pure. The beautiful micro-movements of her eyes were charming. Behind this beauty, there were a couple of people that had their faces painted in red and blue ink that resembled lion facial markings. They were also wearing animal furs of various colors. The group of people was led by a kind-faced old man that was holding a wooden staff that was carved with a lion head. At this moment, they were all staring at her with eager looks as if they were waiting for an answer from her. The kind-faced elder saw Juan Chocho's somewhat blank look, so he smiled at her in a comforting way. Juan Chocho, don't be scared. This chief knows that it's hard for a human to accept marrying a demon. Moreover, that demon you'll marry is a wolf demon that's been disfigured and crippled. But, the wolf tribe is willing to pay 300 caddies of salt. This chief hopes that you can make your decision based on what's good for the tribe and properly consider it. No matter what, this chief will respect your opinion. After hearing the old man's words, Juan Chocho was even more lost. Consider what? Marry a demon. And it would be a disfigured and crippled wolf demon. For the sake of the tribe and 300 caddies of salt. Looking at this inexplicably somewhat familiar scene and hearing those familiar lines, Juan Chocho suddenly remembered the plot for the novel she had been reading last night. The beast tide had attacked earlier this winter, and the Wind Lion tribe fell into crisis because they hadn't been able to save enough salt. At this critical juncture, the wolf demons of the Fire Wolf tribe came to the Wind Lion tribe and said they would pay 300 caddies of salt for a human that would be willing to marry their former chief, who had been disfigured and crippled. This would be the Fire Wolf tribe's compensation to their former chief. And so, the Wind Lion tribe's lion demons gathered together in a cave to ask the only two unmarried female humans in the tribe, Ro Yuerao and Juan Chocho, for their opinions on this matter. Wait. Wasn't this the scene of the supporting female character refusing to marry in that overly dramatic novel she had read last night? It couldn't be that she had transmigrated into a novel, right? When that idea popped up, Juan Chocho immediately felt colder. She pulled her fur coat tighter around herself and fell into a pit of self-doubt. Yesterday, she had seen a novel titled Sweet Pampering in Ancient Times. Demon King Husband, please spare me in a stall. Juan Chocho was immediately attracted by the gaudy cover and suggestively titillating title. Before the end of the world, her favorite fanfiction writer had been Jamu. Thus, when she saw that the author of this book's pen name was Jia Jamu, which was only one Chinese character away from her favorite writer, Juan Chocho happily bought the book with a credit point without hesitation. However, although those two authors had such similar pen names, Jia Jamu's book had rotten writing. Juan Chocho could live with the fact that the novel had a cannon fodder that seemed to be wearing a halo that reduced her intelligence and had the same name as her. But, it was totally intolerable that this novel didn't have any of the sweet pampering she had wanted to see. Every page was just the author writing ****. Translator ramblings. I wanted to translate something sweet with early romance, smiley face. The main character and the love interest, the soft-hearted villain, are so sweet and cute together. It's puppy love. I really like that the main character and love interest mutually help and save each other and do thoughtful, little things for each other. I find it refreshing that the author doesn't use grandiose romantic gestures and the villain isn't jaded and black belly. Chapter 2. Marry a disfigured and crippled wolf demon. 2. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. In the novel, the female lead, Ro Yuerao, was a delicate and an attractive good luck charm. She only had to stand in place and fruit that just happened to be perfectly ripe would fall from a tree and into her hand. Pheasants and rabbits would automatically rush into her arms and obediently wait to be eaten. Originally, this setting would be very fun to read, but unfortunately, Jia Zhamu was a poor writer. Under her writing, Ro Yuerao degenerated into a person that couldn't do anything for herself and would cry at the drop of a hat. As for the novel's male lead, his name was Lu Ziren. He was the Wind Lion tribe's most handsome and strongest young lion demon. In the future, he would become a cool, wild, powerful, and insufferably arrogant demon king. This would have been good, but the author insisted on adding a warm-hearted demon buff to Lu Ziren so that he would grant every one of Ro Yuerao's requests and show her meticulous care. At the same time, he couldn't resist caring for other women that needed his help. The male lead and the female lead had a very convoluted relationship trajectory. It was exceptionally melodramatic and contrived. As for the supporting female character that had the same name as her, Wan Qiuqiu, was only a tool who ended up sacrificing her life because of the male lead and female lead sadomasochistic relationship. For all those mentioned reasons, when Wan Qiuqiu saw that the supporting female character, who had refused to marry and had died tragically in the beast tied to save the male lead, only for the male lead and female lead to kiss and say honeyed words of love right next to her corpse, she couldn't take it anymore. She flung the book away. Not only did she toss that book away off her bed, she had stomped on it and cursed, "This author is poisonous." As a result, when she woke up, she had transmigrated into that novel. Wan Qiuqiu. Looking at the tall lion demons, who were looking impatient, Wan Qiuqiu closed her eyes tightly and fiercely pinched herself. She hoped that when she opened her eyes again, she would return to the small home she had rented. In the post-apocalyptic world, she had a low-level water ability, and her life was difficult. She could only make a living selling the water she created. She had no authority or power and only a few contribution points. It was a calm and indifferent life where she didn't strive to better her situation. Even so, she didn't want to transmigrate into this melodramatic fantasy novel that was even more dangerous than the post-apocalyptic world. She didn't want to transmigrate into a cannon fodder that was on the precipice of a tragic death. However, heaven's will didn't follow people's hopes. Wan Qiuqiu felt the clear pinch of pain on her wrist. She was so cold that her teeth were chattering. Everything felt so vivid and real. Accepting her fate, she opened her eyes. The scene from before hadn't changed at all. The chilly cave, the delicate and beautiful female lead, and the oppressive aura from the lion demons that were waiting for her answer. Seeing that Wan Qiuqiu was keeping silent and didn't look as if she was willing to marry the evil wolf demon, Ro Yuerao was slightly worried. Wan Qiuqiu and her were the only two single women of the appropriate age in the Wind Lion tribe. If Wan Qiuqiu wasn't willing to marry the crippled and disfigured wolf demon, she might have to marry him for the sake of the tribe. But, she wasn't willing. Ro Yuerao clenched her hands. She had already fallen in love with the tribe's most handsome and powerful warrior, Lu Ziren. He was a tall and powerful lion demon. He was robust and handsome, and he treated her very well. She already had her heart set on him. It couldn't be changed. How could she marry another demon? Moreover, the other party was a disfigured wolf demon that had personality issues. Love was selfish. For love, no matter what, she couldn't marry that wolf demon. If she didn't want to marry, then Wan Qiuqiu had to marry that wolf demon. Ro Yuerao sneakily glanced at Wan Qiuqiu. Biting her pink lip, she said, "Qiuqiu, we're both humans. I can understand how you're feeling." Looking at Wan Qiuqiu, Ro Yuerao softly said, "It is a bit scary to marry a demon, but I heard the Fire Wolf tribe's previous chief is seriously injured and on his deathbed. If you marry him, he most likely won't be able to do anything to you. Once he dies, we'll come get you." Chapter 3. Marry a disfigured and crippled wolf demon. 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Once Ro Yuerao finished talking, a middle-aged lion demon immediately voiced his agreement. "Yeah, if worst comes to worst, once that wolf demon dies, we'll come get you." After hearing these words, even the chief, who had said he only wanted Wan Qiuqiu to carefully consider and would respect her decision, couldn't help looking at her expectantly. They acted as if she would be wronging the Wind Lion tribe if she refused to marry. Wan Qiuqiu looked at Ro Yuerao. Her words had left her a bit speechless. She didn't even want to ask Ro Yuerao why she wouldn't marry that wolf demon herself if she felt that way. It was because she was sure that Ro Yuerao had already prepared a bunch of words to block that idea. After all, Ro Yuerao was the lovely female lead gifted with a gold finger. She had a halo that cursed anyone that went against her wishes. As for herself, she was Wan Qiuqiu, a cannon fodder. If she took one wrong step, she would die miserably. Actually, Wan Qiuqiu knew that if the Fire Wolf tribe didn't have the requirement that the human had to willingly marry their former chief, this group of lion demons wouldn't even bother asking her opinion right now. They would have just knocked her unconscious and tossed her to the wolf demons. If she refused to marry, the lion tribe would become the place where her bones were buried. In addition, according to the novel's description, this world was inherently dangerous. It was a world of humans, demons, and fiends. Although the fiends were fewer in number, each and every one of them were formidable and bloodthirsty. In addition, there were all sorts of creatures from ancient times. It would be impractical to leave the tribe and live by herself. Forests in winter were very dangerous. There would be beasts and fiends everywhere with stomachs rumbling with hunger. Wan Qiuqiu sighed. It would already be difficult enough to survive in this dangerous world. She didn't want to offend the female lead on top of that. It would be totally pointless to fight and scheme against Ro Yuerao over some guy. She was someone that had no desire to challenge herself. She would be happy living a peaceful life growing some vegetables and having meat to eat. However, Ro Yuerao was right about one point. Wan Qiuqiu felt a bit bad thinking that the formerly fierce wolf demon. Still, it was true that the formerly infamously fearsome and impressive Mr. Big Bad Wolf had become a cripple and had even lost his ability to hunt. He only had a few days left to live. At the very least, she wouldn't be in danger if she stayed by his side. However, she didn't know why the Fire Wolf tribe wanted a bride for Mr. Big Bad Wolf. And, why did it have to be a willing bride? After thinking that to that point, Wan Qiuqiu had a headache again. That feeling of knowing there was probably a pit in front of her and still having to jump forward was too awful. But right now, she didn't have any other choices. Seeing that Wan Qiuqiu hadn't said a word, the chief couldn't help asking, "Wan Qiuqiu, have you thought things through?" Wan Qiuqiu took a deep breath. Looking at the chief's muddy, but still quite shrewd beady brown eyes, she clenched her hands and said, "Okay, I agree." Oh. The chief froze in surprise for a moment. He had thought Wan Qiuqiu's long silence meant she wouldn't agree. He was a bit stunned. Really? Qiuqiu, you're willing to get married? Wan Qiuqiu felt quite bitter in her heart. If she wasn't willing, was there another path she could take? "I'm willing for the sake of the tribe. However, chief, I have a few conditions." The lion demon chief narrowed his eyes when he heard her words. "What conditions?" The chief's expression looked very benevolent, but Wan Chiochio inexplicably felt an inkling of danger from him. She resisted the urge to tremble. Slightly lowering her eyelashes, she said, "I want to take my belongings with me." "That's not a problem." The chief nodded. Wan Chiochio clenched her jaw and added, "In addition, I want 10 caddies of salt, 15 pieces of animal skin, and 50 caddies of dried meat." Chapter 4. Everyone thought that Wan Chiochio's life would be short-lived once she married that evil wolf. 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wan Chiochio paused after saying her request. Thinking of that wolf demon, who was rumored to be badly injured and near death, she hesitated for a moment before adding, "In addition, I also want some herbs that can be used to treat demonkind. It can't be less than 15 herbs." Right after she said the word herbs, the noise level in the cave plummeted to silence. In unison, the group of lion demons all looked at Wan Chiochio. The lion chief rubbed the wooden stick that had a lion head carved into it between his hands. He stared at her for a few seconds. In a low, nasally voice, he said, "Oh. You want herbs that can be used to treat demonkind." Hearing the lion chief's threatening and unclear tone, Wan Chiochio clenched her hands and vigorously nodded. Yes. Yes, she wanted those herbs. Although that melodramatic novel hadn't mentioned why the wolf tribe would pay 300 caddies of salt to get a wife for Mr. Big Bad Wolf, it had described his miserable situation. His tribe had given up on him because he couldn't be saved. And because he had been given up, he had moved to the edge of the wolf tribe's territory in a cave that was near a forest. He was recuperating there. This had been written euphemistically in the novel, but Wan Chiochio knew that this was the same as having that evil wolf wait for death. Although she had never met that evil wolf, Wan Chiochio felt that at the very least, it was because of him that she had the opportunity to leave the lion tribe. If she looked at it that way, she owed him a small favor. Even if it was only a small favor, she still wanted to try to help him. Moreover, she had already agreed to marry that wolf. Even if nothing happened between them, her agreement had already tied them together. On a selfish note, in this world that was filled with demons, fiends, and all sorts of dangerous creatures, she might be safer if that infamous evil wolf could live a bit longer. If those rumors about him turned out to be true and he was a demented mean wolf that would try to eat her, she just wouldn't use those herbs on him. If she had medicinal herbs, at worst, she could trade those herbs for food with other demons. No matter what, she wouldn't be suffering a loss. And so, she wanted those herbs, and she wouldn't back down. On the side, Ro Yuerao was surprised to see Wan Chiochio taking a hard line on something. This was unlike her. However, thinking that she should put up a good performance in front of the members of the tribe, she twisted her sleeve, took 2 steps forward, and grabbed Wan Chiochio's arm. Wan Chiochio turned her head and heard Ro Yuerao softly and slowly say, "Chiochio, don't you think you're asking for too many animal skins and herbs? It's winter now. The temperature is low, and the weather isn't good. The tribe's animal skins are the ones we saved from autumn. There isn't a lot. It's not that bad for the demons, but if the elderly humans and young children don't have animal skins to cover themselves, it'll be really pitiful. And, the beast tide just left. A lot of the demons in the tribe are injured and urgently need medical treatment. The herbs are so scarce." As she said this, her eyes turned red. She looked at Wan Chiochio with teary eyes as if she wanted her to awaken her conscience. "Chiochio, if there's not enough herbs, those lion demons might not make it through the winter. Don't you think you should be more considerate of the tribe?" However, when Wan Chiochio heard these words, she found her attempt at persuasion laughable. She curved her lips and smiled at Ro Yuerao. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was very clear when she said, "Yuerao, I remember that a few days ago, several young male demons gave you a lot of good quality animal skins and furs. Those skins and furs are probably very warm, right? Since you're such a kind person, why haven't you given your extra animal skins and furs to those elders and young children?" Ro Yuerao. She hadn't expected that Wan Chochio would mention the animal skins and furs she had gotten a few days ago. She couldn't quite keep up the front she had been presenting. She awkwardly bit her lip and answered, I was planning on giving those away. Things just got delayed a bit. Chochio, what did you mean by saying that? How can you say that about me? After she said these words, her eyes were even redder than before. That weepy expression, it looked as if she had been horribly wronged. She looked extremely pitiful. Looking at Ro Yuerao's appearance, Wan Chochio wanted to roll her eyes. Before she could even silently ridicule the female lead, she noticed that most of the young lion demons were looking at her with colder gazes. Not only that, those young lion demons issued low growls. Hearing those threatening sounds coming from the lion demons, Wan Chochio felt her scalp going slightly numb. She grinded her teeth and endured the pressure from those threatening growls. She couldn't resist bitterly thinking, is this the legendary female lead's halo at work? All it took was for her cannon fodder self to say something against Ro Yuerao and Ro Yuerao looking pitiful for the male lion demons to regard her as their enemy and prey. Wasn't her life as a cannon fodder a little too difficult? Chapter 5. Everyone thought that Wan Chochio's life would be short-lived once she married that evil wolf. 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. One after another, the young lion demons threateningly growled in the cave. Probably out of a desire to show support for Ro Yuerao, one of the male lion demons pointed at Wan Chochio and loudly said, Wan Chochio, how can you speak that way towards Yuerao? She's not selfish like you. Of course she would give away those furs and skins to the humans that need it more. Why would she need you to remind her? Another one of the male lion demons couldn't resist saying, exactly. Not just the extra furs and skins, Yuerao will also give away any extra food she has. Yuerao is the kindest person in the world. How could you doubt her? By the time her supporters finished speaking, Ro Yuerao's face had almost changed colors. Wan Chochio glanced at the female lead. Ro Yuerao's smile looked so forced. Wan Chochio took a deep breath and tried her best to not grin and cackle like a diabolical villainess. I misunderstood. Yuerao, I shouldn't have said that about you. Wan Chochio looked at Ro Yuerao and earnestly said, everyone knows that you're a kind person that shares your stuff. She sounded like she was apologizing, but she was actually shackling Ro Yuerao with the title of good person. If Ro Yuerao wanted the cannon fodder to be less selfish and prioritize the tribe over her own well-being, then the female lead naturally had to lead by example by being a good person that valued the importance of sharing. And, I don't blame you. Under the gaze of the male lion demons, Yuerao could only magnanimously forgive Wan Chochio. However, she felt bitterness in her heart. After Wan Chochio made such a fuss, wouldn't she have to share anything good that she got in the future with everyone else in the tribe? If she had known this was going to happen, she would have stayed silent. However, why had Wan Chochio changed so much today? In the past, she had clearly been submissive and didn't dare to speak much to the lion demons. Could it be because Wan Chochio was going to marry that crippled wolf demon? And so, she felt that she shouldn't hold back anymore and didn't care if she was making things worse for herself. Yeah, that made sense. Wan Chochio was going to marry a demon that she didn't like. Her marriage partner was a disfigured and crippled wolf demon that couldn't hunt and would definitely die soon. And, before he had gotten seriously injured, he had a bad reputation amongst the surrounding tribes for being evil and tyrannical. Before that big bad wolf had gotten injured, he was known for being extremely cruel and brutal. Not only did he like to kill humans, demons, and fiends, the horrible smell of blood never faded from his body. Not only that, the wolf demon didn't have any gentility. He wasn't considerate towards any woman. He had been a chief for several years, but he had always been a lone bachelor wolf. It wasn't just the women that he ordered to keep a distance from himself. He wouldn't allow any children, demon or human, to come within 1 meter of him. If they did, he would fly into a terrible rage and even become violent. There was a rumor that an eagle demon had strayed into his territory once and had accidentally looked at his tail for a bit too long. In retaliation, the big bad wolf had dug out the eagle demon's eyes. Rouerao guessed that the reason that the wolf demon had become so twisted was because he was suffering from erectile dysfunction. Otherwise, how could a normal male demon suppress desire to the point of becoming so twisted? OMG, a disfigured and crippled wolf demon that might have erectile dysfunction. He already had personality issues before. Perhaps, he might have become even more twisted. This type of male demon, no matter how much salt they offered her, she wouldn't accept it. As for Wan Qiuqiu, she had to marry that wolf demon and would probably be tortured. She felt a bit bad for her. But fortunately, the person that was going to be defiled by that wolf demon wasn't herself. Thinking of this, Rouerao looked at Wan Qiuqiu with sympathy and a trace of transient guilt. Wan Qiuqiu had thought Rouerao would be very angry with her. She had even mentally prepared herself for the impending bad luck. But now, it looked like Rouerao wasn't going to persist in disagreeing with her. She was even looking at her with a bit of sympathy. Wait a minute, sympathy. Why would the female lead be sympathetic towards a female supporting character that had just gone against her? She must be seeing things, right? Before Wan Qiuqiu had time to think this through, her train of thought was interrupted by the lion demon chief's answer to her request. He had remained silent until now. Chapter 6. Everyone thought that Wan Qiuqiu's life would be short-lived once she married that evil wolf. 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old lion demon rubbed the lion head on his wooden staff for a bit. In a very dignified manner, he waved his hand at the fierce young male lions. Stop making a fuss. Little cubs, don't rely on your demonhood to bully and frighten people. Wan Qiuqiu is going to be leaving our tribe soon. Can't you guys be nicer to her? Wan Qiuqiu was somewhat surprised that the old lion demon would say that. She watched the chief blink his clever beady eyes and heard him leisurely say, however, what Rouerao said was reasonable. Qiuqiu, the tribe can't agree to all of your conditions. Wan Qiuqiu hadn't been harboring much hope for the chief, and she wasn't surprised that he would say that. However, when the cold wind blew in from the outside, she felt especially cold. She silently wrapped her old fur around herself tighter. Wan Qiuqiu's head was lowered and she stayed silent. The lion chief looked at the human girl. He had watched her grow up. She was someone that didn't have a strong sense of existence in the tribe and was on the verge of sacrificing her future for the tribe. She probably wouldn't have left many days left to live after she married that big bad wolf. His heart softened a bit. Just as Wan Qiuqiu was contemplating how to act pitiful in order to get some fallen lion fur from the tribe, she heard the chief say, "There's not enough herbs and animal skins and fur in the tribe. We can only give you 10 pieces of animal skins." The old lion demon paused before continuing to say, "We can only give you 10 herbs, but we'll give you 5 more caddies of salt. In addition, we'll give you 10 caddies of tuber power, the ones that humans like to eat, as compensation. As for the dried meat, you can take 50 caddies with you." Wan Qiuqiu looked up in surprise and saw a trace of sympathy in the old chief's eyes. The old lion demon looked at her with pity. There was a rarely heard softness in his voice as he said, "Wan Qiuqiu, the 5 wolf demons from the fire wolf tribe are still waiting outside. Since you've agreed to marry, then, go back to your cave and pack up your stuff. You can set off to go to the fire wolf tribe in an hour. The tribe will prepare the stuff you requested by then." Wan Qiuqiu. Why did it sound as if she had an hour left before setting off on the road to death? Was she the one that didn't understand the extent of Mr. Big Bad Wolf's cruelty? Or, was that wolf twisted in a perverse way? Was that why everyone thought her life would be short-lived once she married that evil wolf? Wan Qiuqiu seemed to be in a trance as she returned to her cave. After confirming that no human or demon had followed after her, she raised her palm to try to use her water ability. In the past, a trickle of water would have condensed by her fingertips in less than 10 seconds. But now, even after a full minute, nothing happened. Wanchocho was unwilling to give up. She kept trying to sense the water element in the surrounding air. 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Wanchocho's body felt sore, and her face was deathly pale as she overextended herself trying to sense the water in the air. Just as her brain felt as if it was going to explode in pain and she had to give up, she finally condensed a drop of water by her fingertips. Wanchocho's nose felt somewhat sour as if she was going to shamefully cry soon. The giant rock in her heart finally dropped. Although her water ability had gotten weaker, it was wonderful that her mutated water ability still possessed a healing effect. The author has something to say. After several years of being married to the evil wolf, Wanchocho said to him, "Back when I was about to marry you, I didn't get along with the other humans and demons because I didn't know enough about your abnormality." Mr. Big Bad Wolf. Chapter 7. Journey to the Wolf's Cave. 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wanchocho drank the smooth and translucent droplet of water at her fingertips. A moment later, her splitting headache improved. Using the uneven wall of the cave as support, she slowly walked to the edge of the stone bed and lied down to get her strength back. However, she didn't lie in the bed for long before getting back up. She only had an hour to pack up, and she had used up a lot of time to confirm that she still had her water ability. Right now, no matter how tired she was, she couldn't rest. Wanchocho carefully looked through the cave for stuff and discovered that she was as poor as a church mouse. There was a pitiful amount of things in the cave. There were a few pieces of animal skins that she could use to keep warm. Other than the animal skin on the bed that was used as a quilt, there were only 2 pieces of animal skins that were as rough as burlap bags and roughly stitched into clothing. In addition to these 3 animal skins, there was a long needle made from the bone of an unknown animal, several long strands of thread that looked like it was made with woven lion fur, a piece of dried meat that had been hardened by the cold and only looked to be enough food for 1 meal, a clean wooden bowl, and less than half a caddy of tuber powder. Other than those items, Wanchocho couldn't even find a pair of chopsticks, much less everyday items like a toothbrush, a comb, etc. She weakly rubbed her forehead. She simply sewed the big animal skin on the bed into a bag and started packing away the remaining belongings into the bag. When she was folding the clothes, Wanchocho found a new red headband tucked into the light brown animal skin. It was probably made from the fur of a rare animal. Although it was very simple, it had a bright red color. It looked very festive, just like a head ornament for a bride. Wanchocho didn't know why those words popped up in her mind. She felt her heart clenching. After a moment of hesitation, she picked up the hairband. She touched the soft fluff on it. For some inexplicable reason, she felt her eyes tearing up. She had lived for over 20 years and never dated, and now, she was suddenly going to be a bride and marry a wolf. Thinking of her future husband, Wanchocho twitched her lips and revealed an unclear expression. Was she smiling or crying? A disabled, disfigured, and abnormal big bad wolf. She had truly achieved a huge leap forward. She went from being a single dog to the bride of an evil wolf. Wanchocho's mood was very complicated. She blinked. In the end, she put the bright red headband along with the sharp bone needle that could be used as a weapon into her pocket. An hour passed by quickly. When Wanchocho walked out of the tribe's cave with her animal skin bag, the lion chief was already waiting outside with the demons from the fire wolf tribe. Wanchocho pursed her lips and looked at those wolf demons. They weren't as tall as the Wind Lion tribe's lion demons. In their humanoid form, these wolf demons didn't look as capable of inflicting damage. They had painted light greenish-blue wolf markings on their faces. Their eyes didn't look as gleaming bright as the lion demons. They even looked a bit lazy, but at the same time, they gave off a threatening aura. Huanqiuqiu, just follow the wolves. The chief lion demon had probably gotten the 300 caddies of salt. His expression looked a lot more gentle than before. He looked at the deathly pale Huanqiuqiu and pointed at the animal skin bag on the ground. His voice was somewhat solemn as he said, "Your dowry is in that bag. It'll take a day and half of walking to get to the Fire Wolf tribe from here. You, take care." Huanqiuqiu nodded. She walked forward and opened the bag to look inside. The items inside were pretty much what she had requested. The herbs and salt had been wrapped up separately with small animal skins. Huanqiuqiu leaned over. Under the guise of taking out 2 pieces of dried meat, she slipped out the bag of herbs and put it inside the small animal skin bag that she was holding. Then, she stood up straight and stumbled when she tried to pick up the large animal skin bag. A bag that weighed many caddies was very heavy after all. Right now, she was weak, and the bag was stuck on the snow-covered ground. She tried several times, but she couldn't pick up the large bag. On the side, Ro Yuerao saw Huanqiuqiu's shaking hands and feet and felt a bit bad for her. She thought about asking the surrounding lion demons to help her, but when she thought about how Huanqiuqiu liked Lu Xiren, who wasn't present in the tribe right now because he was out hunting, that tiny bit of sympathy immediately vanished. Chapter 8 Journey to the Wolf's Cave, 2, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Since Ro Yuerao didn't say anything and the lion demons were still thinking about how Huanqiuqiu had spoken badly about Yuerao, no one stepped forward to help Huanqiuqiu. Huanqiuqiu hadn't placed her hopes in the lion demons helping her. She had predicted that this situation would occur. She took out 20 caddies of dried meat from the animal skin bag, walked to the oldest-looking middle-aged wolf demon, and looked the wolf demon in his cold eyes. She forced herself to smile. Uncle Demon, can I make a deal with you?" The middle-aged wolf demon looked at the dried meat in Huanqiuqiu's hand. One glance was enough to tell that the shriveled dried meat wasn't fresh. He reluctantly accepted her request. "You want me to help you carry the animal skin bag, right? Fine." He took the dried meat, stuffed into his large animal skin bag, and easily picked up the bag that Huanqiuqiu hadn't even been able to move. "Don't waste any more time. Let's go." Once the middle-aged wolf demon said those words, the other 4 wolf demons expressionlessly fell back behind him and turned to stare at her in unison. Huanqiuqiu felt a chill running down her back. She didn't dare to hold things up. She gritted her teeth and followed after them. The wolf demons walked at a moderate pace, and she mindlessly followed behind them. By the time she returned to her senses, they had already left the lion tribe's territory. She hadn't said goodbye to any member of the Wind Lion tribe. And, there was no one in the Wind Lion tribe that would miss her or worry about her. It was as if she was merely a dispensable tool for exchanging salt. However, Huanqiuqiu didn't have time to feel upset about the lion demon's indifference. It was already very tiring to keep up with the wolf demon's pace. Huanqiuqiu had thought the wolf demons would change into their animal forms after they left the lion tribe's territory in order to travel faster. Perhaps, one of them might give her a ride on his back. But reality proved that she had overthought. Not only did the 5 wolf demons have no intention of changing into their animal forms to hasten on with their journey, they didn't have the inclination to talk with her either. They treated her as a task to be completed and were apathetic as they brought her back to their tribe. There were several times when she was so tired that she couldn't move. At those times, they would look at her with very ferocious and disdainful gazes. Fortunately, they didn't encounter any dangerous animals or fiends along the way. Otherwise, Huanqiuqiu would seriously doubt whether she would make it there alive to marry the big bad wolf. They walked like this for a long time with breaks in between when she couldn't walk anymore. By the time the sun was setting the next day, Huanqiuqiu had almost worn down the animal skins wrapped on her feet when they finally approached the Fire Wolf tribe's territory. When they had almost walked out of the forest, the leader of the wolf demons suddenly turned his head. In a scared and also excited tone, he said to Wanchocho, "After we pass this part of the forest, we'll arrive at your mate's cave where he's recuperating." He had stressed the word recuperating and ended his words with a sneer. The other four wolf demons turned their heads as if they were suddenly interested in talking to her. One of the younger wolf demons looked at Wanchocho with a little bit of pity in his voice, contained fear that couldn't be hidden, as he said, "Your fate is so tragic. Your dying husband isn't interested in women at all. What nonsense are you saying?" Another wolf demon punched him. "That cripple has been hungry for so long. He might be very interested in eating a woman." Wanchocho. Oh. So that big bad wolf might be hungry for her body. The wolf demon saw that her expression hadn't changed. After a strange silence, he asked, "You're not scared of being eaten? Is being scared useful?" Wanchocho weakly answered. If it was 2 days ago, she would be too scared to show any disrespect, but right now, she was exhausted. She wanted to find a stone bed and lie down. Otherwise, she would fall into a coma and die. Perhaps, the demons found her response rather admirable. Wanchocho clearly felt that the middle-aged wolf demon's gaze had changed. Seemingly from nowhere, he took out a crumpled red fur clothing and handed it to her. "Put this on." Wanchocho. "Wedding outfit," the middle-aged wolf demon said. Wanchocho. They had prepared a wedding outfit for her. Chapter 9. Journey to the Wolf's Cave, 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the side, a young wolf demon took delight in her misfortune and said, "Yeah, there's a wedding outfit. I almost forgot about that. But, that wolf is blind. He won't be able to see it." Wanchocho. A blind wolf. Wasn't Mr. Big Bad Wolf only disfigured and crippled? He had also lost his eyesight. Seeing her somewhat surprised look, the young wolf demon couldn't resist saying, "A blind wolf? You don't understand. He's like one of you humans. He's blind. The rare winter sunlight, this tree, the snow, he can't see any of it. Do you understand now?" Wanchocho heard these words and pursed her lips. "Do you guys hate my husband?" The young wolf demon scoffed, "Of course." Wanchocho couldn't resist asking, "If that's the case, why did you guys spend 300 caddies of salt to get him a wife? The bride had to be willing too." Right after she said these words, she saw that the wolf demon's expression immediately changed. There were even traces of fright. The middle-aged wolf demon appeared fierce, but he was cowardly at heart. He bellowed, "It's our tribe's tradition. The Fire Wolf tribe isn't lacking in salt. Why the h*ll are you asking so many questions?" Wanchocho was stunned by his bellowing and tactfully didn't say another word. The other wolf demons also fell silent. The group resumed walking for over half an hour. Just as they were about to exit the forest, Wanchocho, who had been mechanically walking forward, suddenly realized that the wolf demons had all halted. She felt a bit doubtful. Just as she was about to ask why, she heard a low and hoarse growl by her ear. It was a growl meant to threaten and warn. The low growl continued for a long time and circled around the edge of the forest that had giant trees growing all over. The sound was swept up by the howling wind, and a chill went up her spine. Wanchocho's scalp felt somewhat numb. When she turned her head, she saw that those wolf demons had already run away. Her dowry was scattered on the snow-covered ground. Wanchocho exhaled and forced herself to calm down. She looked at the not too far away cave that was almost hidden underneath the roots of a giant tree, then she turned and glanced at the desolate and still forest. She couldn't clearly describe what she was feeling right now. She could go forward towards her husband's cave. Or, she could retreat, but the forest behind her would become 100 times more dangerous after the sunset. Wanchocho didn't hesitate anymore. She put on that red, wedding outfit over her clothing. Thinking it over, she took out the red headband from her pocket and put it on too. Whether or not that big bad wolf was blind, this was her first time getting married. She couldn't look too unsightly. Wanchocho mockingly smiled at herself. She picked up the animal skin bag that had 20 caddies of dried meat taken out of it. It was noticeably lighter than before, but she still struggled to carry it as she walked towards the cave. As she got closer to Mr. Big Bad Wolf's cave, the stench of blood grew stronger. The combination of that smell plus the chilly wind made it hard to breathe. Stepping on the crunchy layer of the snow, Wanchocho crossed over one more bend and finally came within 10 meters of the cave. She was slightly panting when she saw a wobbly and lame wolf cub in the dim light of dusk. It was gnawing on snow. It looked as if it was going to fall over at any second. Wanchocho blinked in surprise. When she composed herself and looked over there again, the wolf cub had disappeared. The wolf cub had been replaced by a huge and terrifying wolf that was baring its fangs. Its body reeked the heavy scent of blood. Although there was still a distance between them, Wanchocho could clearly see the blood dripping down on him and his large rotting wound. The author has something to say. Mr. Big Bad Wolf was bewildered and uncertain. He showed off his terrifying fangs and hoped. She probably didn't see that, right? Chapter 10. Why wasn't she running away? 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The snow was stained red by the blood, and the cold air was filled with the heavy stench of blood and rot. Wanchocho's legs felt weak. She squeezed the animal skin bag and nervously raised her head to look at the wolf demon that had suddenly appeared by the cave. That wolf demon was covered in blood. His animal form was huge. Even with him crouching, he was nearly 3 meters tall. He blocked the small entrance to the cave with his body. She had to lean her head back to see his entire body. It was a scarred body. There were big and small sinister dot-looking wounds on his back. Some of the wounds had crusted over with blood, and some of them looked very fresh with blood dripping out. The blood matted the fur on his back into unsightly patches of black. The giant wolf's front paws were plunged deep into the snow, and the left hind leg ended at a bare bone. Blood and pus was dripping down from it. Wanchocho's lips were trembling. She looked at the giant wolf that was within 5 meters of her. His hackles were raised, and he was baring his teeth. He let out a low growl that was rich with warning. Hearing that this low growl was the same one she had heard earlier in the forest, Wanchocho immediately determined this giant wolf, who had a deep wound that stretched from his left forehead to underneath his right eyelid, was her husband. Her wolf husband, who was disfigured, crippled, on his deathbed, and said to be blind. Wanchocho's palms were sweaty. She felt frozen in place. This giant gray wolf looked frightening. He had terrifying fangs and looked as if he was going to pounce over at any second and rip apart her delicious human self with his claws and gobble her down. Looking at the seriously injured giant wolf before her, Wanchocho finally understood why the wolf demons from the Fire Wolf tribe didn't dare to approach the edge of the forest. As it turned out, even if her husband was crippled, he was still an enormous wolf that looked extremely ferocious. As she watched the gray wolf issue repeated warning growls, each one sounding more threatening than the preceding one, and inching closer to her, Wanchocho strangely lost her fear. She should have been very scared, but she had accidentally seen the snow dotting the gray wolf's muzzle. The trace of snow should have belonged to that little wolf cub, who had been nibbling on the snow. This evil wolf looked so ferocious right now, but hadn't he just been a small, weak, helpless, pitiful, wretched wolf cub that was nibbling on snow? Seeing the snow on the giant wolf's muzzle, Wanchocho stood in place and pondered why her husband could seamlessly change from a wolf cub to a giant gray wolf. She didn't know that a certain wolf had peppered her with the label "idiot" for not running away. 10 days ago, when Mr. Big Bad Wolf had just moved here to recuperate, he heard that the tribe was going to send him a human spouse as compensation. This was an ancient custom passed down amongst the demon tribes. If an unmarried chief was abandoned by the tribe would give a human bride to marry him when he was about to die. They said the human would be the demon's spouse, but everyone knew that it was the tribe's last, charitable, act. It was to let the demon enjoy the pleasures of an adult while also enjoying the taste of human flesh that was prohibited in normal times. The last full meal. Mr. Big Bad Wolf sneered. He only felt disgust towards the decision made by the tribe that had abandoned him. He had no interest in copulating, that sort of thing was gross. He was even less interested in finding out what human flesh tastes like. It was only. Mr. Big Bad Wolf narrowed his almost blind eyes. He slowly stretched out what little was left of his demon consciousness and clearly saw the deathly pale Wanchocho that was standing in front of him. Was this human truly stupid or was she too scared to move? His animal form was so scary. Why wasn't she running away? Didn't she know that if she was standing in front of another demon whose stomach was rumbling with hunger and had no morals, she wouldn't have lived past 3 seconds? The author has something to say. Today. Mr. Big Bad Wolf. I'm not interested in copulating. Gross. A few years later. Wanchocho kicked a certain wolf off the bed. Didn't you say this is gross? Mr. Big Bad Wolf. T/N. Any chapter parts that mention demons eating humans or vice versa will be left on Patreon. Translator Ramblings. I think Wanchocho is so exhausted from lack of sleep and the forced march over here that her response to danger is muted.